So I think one of the easiest ways that we talk about this within nursing is, of course, we talk about shared governance and some of those forums that we have that, of course, give our frontline teams a seat at the table. I think for us, Terry just hit on something I think is really important for us in how we engage with our frontline teams. Is I think about listening tours and different focus groups that really tie into a frontline team and how they are specifically going to be impacted within their area of practice. And when I think of that, what really struck me with what you said was we have to be very thoughtful of how we receive their feedback, because they are watching and they're observing if we're giving them a safe space and what we do with their feedback. So I think as we engage with frontline nurses, it's understanding what they're working with and kind of walking through and giving them that seat at the table. If you are going through a root cause analysis, or you're going through a policy development, you're going through some sort of change management, the deployment of Epic, having a nurse walk through that with you that's going to be the end user of the process, I think is really key. And not just one, but really having those people that you go to out in the organization that are your source of truth, that are your trusted advisors at a frontline level is really important. And I think it empowers them because they also become your change agents as you start to navigate that. That is one thing that I think is really important, is how you do that in a formal but also the informal way. Shared governance is an amazing platform for us across our organizations, but there's also an element of how we become visible to the frontline teams through different avenues, focus groups, rounding. There is nothing more powerful than going and hanging out in the ICU break room at lunch and shift change and talking to people. One of my favorite times to walk out of our organization is when I know that we're at shift change and night shift is coming in or night shift is leaving, and talking to them and seeing, hey, what's going on? Hey, please be safe going home. How was your shift? Keeping a pulse on those things. Your huddles also are really important. Go out and listen to some of the huddles. And I think when you're out there, you become a nurse and a colleague, not just an executive leader that is distant and we see whether on our intranet or when we're making big announcements. And so I think that's one piece that's really important, is how do you go and actually look at how it impacts their work? And then how do you take that back and consider and be very sensitive to it? And I think also being able, it gives you a chance to articulate the why. Why would we need to change this? Hey, what we're doing, this kind of sounds like we might have a safety concern, or we might need to tweak the process. What would it look like if we did X? Can be really powerful for them. But I think when you said that a moment ago, it made me think of how we respond can be really key in giving them a safe space. And do they feel like this? If we shut them down, they'll stop talking to us. And that creates a challenging power dynamic that we have to mitigate and steer clear of.